Since the start of 2022, my net worth and portfolio has been breathing with the uncertainty in the markets. For me, I'm continuing to dollar cost average into the market, and I'm trying not to look at my portfolio during this period so that I won't be demoralized. Also, I'm trying to get back on track to monitor my net worth as I did in my previous video. Except that right now my life stage has changed, and I find that it is harder and more difficult. In this video, I'm going to update you some of my life changes and how it's going to impact my net worth as well as my finances in the coming months. You might chance upon my previous video where I share about my personal net worth and my personal net worth journey that I would like to achieve. On a monthly basis, I track my expenditure and net worth on a Google Docs or Google Sheets. This is my Excel sheet that I track and project my finances. I got this template from one of the FIRE community online somewhere, can't remember where it is a projection on how much money you need to be invested to reach your financial independence. This varies from person to person and it is based on your monthly spend. I also generate some cool looking charts to see how on a monthly basis the month-on-month growth. I love to see progress in my journey and to be able to look back. But since January, or rather November, my portfolio took a hit and it affected my accounts in both Interactive Brokers as well as Moomoo. And somewhat to an extent, Stashaway as well as the new investment Robo-advisors that I'm trying out, which is Endowers. So it has been a negative year so far in terms of the returns, and usually on red days I just try not to look at my portfolio. You see that you're losing money, you might do something stupid like selling at the lows. Sometimes the ability to hold is quite hard, especially when you're facing losses. Anyway, back to the topic of tracking finances. Since I've gotten married, it has been quite difficult and more trickier to track my finances. The first change that I have was the changing of spending habits. One change we had actually was that both Jingles and I use one credit card right now. And it is to pay for all of our expenses because now we have shared expenses, right? Because Jingles is a student, he can't meet the minimum cashback for the credit card, so we decided to just lump all our money into one credit card. So as a result, it's quite complicated because I don't know which item would be his expenditure and which item would be my expenditure. In addition, we have changed our preferred payment method to crypto.com, which is CRO card. And the reason is because it offers a 3% CRO cashback, which we think is pretty good. And now it's a bit more complicated because in order to use the credit card, you need to top up the CRO card. And to top up the CRO card, if you top up with a normal credit card, you do get a 1% fee. But I found out this trick from Gerald, who talks about the different tips of avoiding all the fees. So one way is to top up the card using a Revolut card. So our process right now will be using a credit card to top up our Revolut card, and then using our Revolut card to top up our CRO card so that there's no fees in between. I like how crypto.com cashback card is immediate, unlike a credit card, when at the end of the month then you know how much money you get back. The only thing you need to sacrifice and be aware is that you are getting a cashback on CRO coins itself. It will fluctuate quite a bit. So therefore, in the previous video, I shared that I use Seedly app to track my finances. What I like about the app is that it will sort my expenses based on the different categories of each transaction. Because the app links with the Singapore banks, I'll be able to link up with my OCBC and UOB account so that I can see it clearly. However, the app does not link up, or rather, it doesn't offer a crypto.com link. So all expenses on my crypto.com is not visible on the app, and it has to be tracked separately. Quite a manual process, and I really don't like manually inputting all my finances. So right now I'm just still figuring out on how is the best way to track my expenses. My process of tracking the CRO card transaction is to export my transactions from the CRO app into an Excel sheet, and what I do is to put it into an Airtable where I can sort them into various categories quite easily. Next, we are actually going to buy a home. During my previous video, I did share that we are not looking at property as part of our investment strategy just because it's so complicated. There is a lot of barriers when it comes to investing in property in Singapore. At least from my opinion, I feel that we would need a lot of capital in the first place. And of course, most people would start off with a HDB, and private property is pretty much out of reach, especially if you're thinking of buying a bigger house where you can stay. I had many kind souls who share that, essentially home ownership in Singapore is very important, and we have been brought up with this mindset as well. Yeah, and that's unlike our friends in the US or in Europe, where it's quite common for them to rent. Anyway, we are in the midst of getting the home and the paperwork sorted, so I'll be probably sharing with you once all of this are confirmed. Meanwhile, the housing that we're looking at, it's old house. It's probably a 40 plus to 50-year-old house. We probably have about 50-year lease left from the house, and it fits our budget. Even though it's our old house, it's still a huge expense for us. Therefore, with this purchase, my personal net worth would have some adjustments, and I'll be liquidating some items as well. So right now, it's really hard to track until the whole thing settles down and gets sorted out. I do think that I need to restructure my financial goals, especially now that Jingles and I are married. There are different schools of thoughts when it comes to couple finances and managing finance. Just like there are various ways to calculate net worth, such as whether you should include CPF or not. Some couples prefer to have individual accounts and a combined account, and some would rather combine all of their finances together. And those couples who manage to combine their finances, I think it's like super cool. I think the ideal situation is to combine everything together, because now that you're married, you are building your lives together with your partner. Ideally, this is the case, but I'm not too sure like how normally people do. So there are a couple of reasons why we have not even done that. First of all, I'm an insecure person due to my family background. My parents are divorced. As growing up, my mom would tell me, it's good to have your own money, to have some kind of backup, or like some kind of empowerment, I guess, over your own money that you can use in case of any emergency. Yeah. And of course, that didn't help where I have friends around me who are divorced that it does make me feel like, maybe I need a backup plan kind of idea. But all of these is something that I really need to work on, and as a personal development kind of thing, to really trust Jingles more. Another reason would be spending habits. So I used to be someone who would spend a lot, and sometimes I don't have self-control, I feel. And therefore, because I'm aware of this fact, I'm just worried that if we combine our finances, we would face a challenge when it comes to maybe one party would overspend the other party, that kind of idea. So it's really some restriction that I think I want to place on myself. Yeah, so being aware of this fact, probably about the last couple of years or so, I realized the amount you have in the bank doesn't mean that you can afford it. You still need to have savings, you need to have plans for the future. So therefore, sometimes I don't generally trust myself to manage my own finances because, like I said, I do succumb to overspending. Jingles and I have this agreement where, if there's something that's more than $100, we should, maybe consult each other. Like, this was what, we tried to have in place. But only Jingles follow that. Like, every time he tried to spend something that's probably more than 60, he would consult me and see, is it, does it make sense? But for me, for girls, sometimes things are not cheap, like your beauty products and stuff. Your own money does help because you don't need to ask someone else or consult someone else. And sometimes you will feel like, okay, I need to convince the person or come up with justification to let the person know why you need to buy this. So this leads to my next point, which is that having my own income means that I have empowerment over the money that I bring in. I have a friend who shared me her story where her mom goes to facial treatments behind her dad's back. And the reason is because her dad is such a meticulous person and will track every single finances in the house, would question every single expenditure, where it becomes to a point of, too controlling. The mom decided to just do it without telling the dad, because she rather not go into that conversation or have that conversation. So that was something interesting that I've learned, and I don't know, man, I don't really want to spend money behind Jingles' back as well. So we are still figuring this out basically. Perhaps, for many of us, the best way is to have an individual account and to have also a shared account to contribute. The individual account could be our own money where we are accountable for our own spend, where having a combined account would be something for the family. Also, now that I think about it, both of us have different financial agents, we have our own crypto keys, and it's a tough job trying to combine everything together. And I don't know, after marriage, do you do that? Like, how do you transfer your accounts to one? If there's any couples of you out there, what are some tips that you have when it comes to couple financial planning? And let me know, how's your experience. I'll be keen to really learn a thing or two from you guys. Please let me know in the comments. So thanks for watching. My name is Ying Ying, and I started this channel with my partner Jingles to talk about various topics such as finances, adulting, and general life hacks. So if you'd like to join us in our journey, you can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, or connect with us on Instagram, or follow our publication where we will share more in-depth topics and our personal lives. So till then, I'll see you later. Bye.